Hello everyone, welcome back. We have our live weekly real estate market update for you this week, focusing on the property market across the country here in Australia and also locally here on the Sunshine Coast as well. So I guess the ultimate question for a lot of people at the moment is it a good time to sell? And for the buyers, is it a good time to buy? Because often when you're selling and buying, you're trying to time the market to make sure you capitalize on the best result for yourself, whether that is buying or selling, of course. And look, the answer to that question always is the best time to buy and sell is today, because we don't know what the future of the property market's going to do, and we can only be guided by our current motivations and what the property market is doing today. So I'm going to unpack some figures here from this week's real estate blog. So if you're interested, you can check that out by going to martinlutzi.com.au and then head to the blog tab there. All my weekly blogs and other blogs are uploaded there every week as well. So the future of the property market, I guess there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy right now with the wars overseas and natures like that affecting the economic uncertainty. And that certainly is having a somewhat effect at the moment. And how that's going to play out over the next 3, 6, 12 months is very much the unknown, but it will definitely have an impact on the economy and also therefore the property market as well here in Australia. But let's have a look at some of the figures that are happening here in Australia. And look, property prices are on the up, certainly in some markets more than others. But if you look at Sydney's really booming along. And I've shared in this week's blog a property clock. So where each market around Australia is at as far as the upward swing or the downward swing is concerned. And this property clock in particular was provided by Matusik, so you can check it out at martinlutzi.com.au. And he's suggesting that the Sydney market is actually in the recovery phase, so heading upwards again, whereas the Brisbane market is in the declining phase or stagnation phase. Markets like Melbourne are at the bottom and then therefore almost on the recovery stage as well. Here on the on the Sunshine Coast and also the Gold Coast, they're saying we're in a declining market, close to a stagnating market. But I can't always focus on these property clocks with much great accuracy because the figures are showing a little bit of a different story. Certainly Sydney, they've had massive growth year to date, and I'll put that in the figures there as well. So 10.4% property price increase in Sydney year to date. Brisbane 9.5%. So to say that Brisbane's in a declining or stagnating market, it's actually not included on this chart either, but to say that it's in a declining or stagnating market is far from the truth. It's actually booming. So year to date, 9.5% up, which is huge. On the Sunshine Coast, however, CoreLogic has suggested that property prices on the Sunshine Coast have declined slightly, only slightly, 0.4% over the past 12 months. Keeping in mind that during the COVID pandemic, prices on the Sunshine Coast went up to 60% and even above in some areas as well. And what we've seen, whilst that property prices have dropped slightly, 0.4%, not a great deal to be noticed, property prices are holding firm. And the big part or factor to play in this is supply and demand. And it's really across the country as far as I can see, with exceptions to Sydney. We've seen a lot of sellers come to the market in Sydney. New listings in Sydney are up 30% this time on last year. And I think that's because sellers have seen the prices increase 10%, have more confidence and therefore entering the market, listing their properties to capitalise on whilst prices are high. And I expect the same is happening in Brisbane. The amount of properties that have been listed, new listings, this time compared to last year is still under or down 5%. And over the total listing portal, that's down 23% as well. So interesting figures there. On the Sunshine Coast, and I hear this concern from a lot of the buyers that I'm speaking with daily, is that there's simply not enough properties on the market to look at, not enough properties for sale. So we're definitely seeing a very big supply shortage, and that's really what's keeping our prices firm here on the Sunshine Coast. So whilst they've dropped back a little bit, prices are still being achieved. Great results here on the Sunshine Coast, in my opinion. Locally, I've seen some great residential homes selling for up to $1 million and even above $1 million. Some new built homes selling for $1.1, $1.2 million, and even some modern yet older homes selling for around that $1 million to $1.1 million range as well. So there's certainly some great results being achieved. And it's a little bit of a mixed bag for sellers and buyers out there at the moment. Some properties coming to the market, getting a lot of good interest straight away, multiple offers coming in, sometimes selling in that first week or first 2 weeks. Other properties may be sitting there for 3, 4, 5 weeks, waiting for that perfect buyer to come through, but still getting multiple offers received. So it is an interesting market, and whilst 5 weeks might seem long compared to what we were achieving during the COVID boom period, where things were just selling like in a day or 2 days, 5 weeks is still a short time to be on the market historically in the local area of the Sunshine Coast. On average, the Sunshine Coast was about 60 to 90 days for sales here in the area. So still to sell in 5 weeks is a fairly good rate. Most properties are still selling. We are still seeing a lot of properties that are listed going under contract. And one trend that we're seeing right now as well is a lot of off-market sales. So we're dealing with buyers daily. And if we can find that buyer a suitable home, someone that's indicated that they're selling, and make that match, there are a lot of off-market sales happening as well in our office and in other offices, I'm sure, as well. So that's a little bit about the property market at the moment and what's happening. Leading up to Christmas, I do expect to see more properties coming on the market over the next 4 to 6 weeks. December, January is fairly quiet time. A lot of people on holidays, taking a break, not wanting to put their property on the market whilst they're entertaining and enjoying the festive season. In saying that, it is still a good time to sell because you have less competition as a seller. For buyers out there, I understand showing caution. Borrowing capacity has been reduced with the cash rate still sitting up there at 4.1%. Interest rates for home buyers at the moment around 6%, and for investors around up to 9%. So we're seeing the investor market sort of drop back a little bit now. A lot of investment properties are coming to the market for sale too, because the return on investment isn't that great. So that's a little bit about the market at the moment. What's happening with the interest rates? There is talk that potentially there'll be another cash rate rise because inflation is still hovering high. Now, whilst I don't believe that a cash rate rise will stop inflation, because really the inflation is mainly staying high due to electricity prices and supply services like that, fuel, etc. That's keeping inflation quite high. So putting up the cash rate won't really affect that inflation figure, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens there, but there is talk that there might be another cash rate rise this year. Into next year, they're talking that the cash rate will start to ease back. Some banks are predicting it as low as 2.6% over the next 12 to 18 months. Others are saying it might hover around in that sort of 3% mark or range, somewhere there. So interesting to see what happens now, guys. But if there's anything we can help you with, hope you've enjoyed this weekly update. My first one back after 2 weeks overseas. I went to a EXP conference, the company I'm attached with there. A great company and a fantastic conference over there as well. So good to be back, and I hope you've enjoyed this weekly real estate market update. Give us a call if there's anything we can help you with. Bye for now.